So one of my best friends is getting married. We still have not been able to connect on the phone. We've just been so busy. But she just sent me a package. Am I gonna be a bridesmaid? Stop, I'm gonna cry. Stop, stop, stop. Stop. Oh my God, that's a terrible photo of me, but she looks great. You be my bridesmaid! Lisa, of course. Lisa and I met when we were both still acting. We were doing Pinkalicious, which I don't know why people don't know that's like a kid's book. People always are like, ooh, that sounds like risque. I'm like, no, it's literally about a little girl who eats too many pink cupcakes and turns pink. So we did a tour and a sit down in New York together, and it was a bonding experience. It was rough. But we hit it off immediately, and we have been very close ever since. She was in my wedding.
You are not to see that man again, Rose. Do you understand me? Careful, mother. You'll give yourself a nosebleed. Oh.
Stop. She got me, look at these beautiful earrings. What a great start to the morning. So I'm gonna finish up editing day 3's video, and then we're gonna meet for a little nutrition Q&A. All right, let's do our little Q&A. So yesterday I went on Instagram and I asked you guys to ask me any nutrition question. Some of these are gonna be directly related to the challenge that I'm doing this month, and others are just more generalized questions. So whether you are somebody who is looking for budget tips or if you're just looking for basic nutrition tips, this is gonna be very informative. First question, cheapest protein source. This fits in perfectly with the challenge. Okay, I'm gonna say beans here, but hear me out. Like I said in one of the previous videos, beans are traditionally only considered a protein source if you are plant-based. And that's because there is also a very high carb content within your beans. So I always think for people who are not plant-based, beans are like an added bonus, right? They're gonna be your carbs, but they also happen to have a lot of protein in them. Now, if we're talking about animal proteins, honestly, it's gonna be like your cheaper cuts of meat. It's gonna be things that aren't necessarily super well sourced, so maybe not grass-fed, maybe not pasture-raised, all of that kind of stuff. And look, ideally, like that's what we want, but also realistically, that's not what everyone has access to, whether it's your store providing it or you being able to afford it. So I would say instead of worrying about choosing like the perfect protein, do the best you can. Get the high quality cuts when you can afford it, shop the sales when you can, and remember that getting in any protein is better than getting in no protein. Should we really focus on high protein amounts like TikTok has told us all to do? Oh, TikTok. Okay, so first of all, remember that all things with like health and wellness, it's secular. Everything is like a secular plan. Everything's gonna be demonized at some point. Everything is gonna be the miracle cure at some point. And right now, protein is like the miracle cure trend. Now, in terms of protein, I would say with my experience as a nutrition coach, yeah, I don't think most people get in enough protein. But that doesn't mean that you need to like swing the pendulum all the way to the other side and get in like 200 grams of protein a day. You don't necessarily need that much. So currently, the daily recommended amount of protein is 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight per day. And that number is the minimum amount to prevent deficiency within the body. So it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the number you need to stick to. There's lots of things to take into account. What are your goals? What do you have access to? What do you enjoy? So across the board, does everyone need to be on this high protein diet because TikTok tells us to? Absolutely not. But is it worth bringing some more awareness into your daily protein habits to see if you are even meeting the daily requirement? Yeah, I think so. Why does everyone hate carbs? All right, so like I just said, everything's gonna be demonized at some point, right? But I do think that there are 2 reasons carbs get hit pretty hard. Number 1, most hyper-palatable foods are very carb heavy. And these foods are very easy to eat in excess. And if you eat these foods in excess, you are going to be more than likely consuming more calories than you need, and then that will lead to potential weight gain and potential health implications. So because of that, people tend to make this connection, carbs equals bad, when really it's just your portion sizes that are bad. Now, the other reason I think people hate on carbs is because carbs are going to act like a sponge within your body. Essentially meaning that if I had a bunch of carbs yesterday and then I woke up today, I might be feeling a little puffier. I might feel like I have retained more water. But here's the thing, that's normal. Like, if that's what your body does when you have carbs, like your body's acting exactly as it should. It's not a bad thing. Water weight is not fat. Like we need to stop worrying about getting rid of our water weight or dropping the excess water on our body. Like you're fine. It's not fat. It's not going to kill you. In my opinion, the only people who need to worry about their water weight is like elite athletes and competitors. Like those are the only people who need to really be worrying about this water manipulation within the body. Just eat your carbs in proper portions, you'll be fine. Do we need more carbs if it's a running day and not a lifting day? No hate on carbs, just curious. No, that's a fantastic question. Okay, so first and foremost, you need to experiment with what works best for you because I'm gonna explain the science in a second, but remember that everyone is gonna react and feel a little bit differently, right? That being said, let's discuss the science. So while you're running, your body is going to use more energy, aka burn more calories than if you were doing strength training. And your body's main energy source is carbohydrates. So I would say you definitely wanna bump up your carbs on a running day. Now, on the other hand, while lifting, you still want carbs for energy, but I would say you're gonna wanna shift your focus to making sure that you're getting in enough protein within a few hours after your session. And I recommend this because protein is going to be the main aid in building and repairing your muscle fibers. Have you ever counted calories or macros? Is it necessary? I have. I used to obsessively count my calories and macros and literally everything down to the T in my 20s. That obviously became very obsessive and toxic, so I had to stop for a long time. And luckily now I'm in a place where I can just see it as data and I don't I'm not in a place anymore where I gauge my worth as a human based off of the calories that I've consumed during the day. I actually have a video from earlier this year that you can check out where I took 3 months and I did actually count my calories and my protein to just get a better handle on my goals at the time. Now, is it necessary? I don't think so for most people. And hear me out here. So we're gonna use my real life coaching experience as an example. Most people come to me with the goal of either weight loss or teach me how to eat. And I'm literally not kidding about that second one. Like it is so sad, the lack of nutritional education that we receive in schools. But anyway, so for that one, like, yeah, it kind of makes sense. Like you don't necessarily need to count calories or macros, right? For weight loss, I know a lot of people are probably like, no, you want a calorie count because you need to be in a caloric deficit. And for some people, that is a good option. But honestly, most people, when they come to me, first we have to tackle like, okay, can you eat vegetables? Do you know how to grocery shop? Can you navigate eating out? I am telling you right now, most people who come to me cannot do those things. So why are we gonna jump to this really advanced thing of tracking every single number that we put into our body before we have the foundation laid out? And honestly, I do find that when we start incorporating more vegetables, making sure we hit our protein, balancing out our meals, most people just naturally put themselves into a caloric deficit, and it's a much easier transition into making this a habit because the habit we don't want to build is counting every single thing that we eat for the rest of our lives. Like that sounds miserable. What can we eat to combat soreness? Great question. There's a lot of different things here, but I think the thing that has given us the most prominent information is fats. Fats are gonna be key, but you're gonna wanna make sure that you're not choosing inflammatory fats. You wanna choose anti-inflammatory fats. So choosing things like dark green leafy vegetables, hemp seeds, flax seeds, salmon, tuna, walnuts, all of those are really great options. But I don't want you to like go to the extremes here and only eat those things or eat those things in excess, right? I would just say if you have like a really tough session, maybe your next meal have like some salmon and kale at it. How to make sure I'm getting enough protein on a budget. Meat is expensive. Yeah, I learned that this week. Look, I am not a complete expert on this by any means, and we're gonna be learning about this throughout the challenge, but one of the things I do recommend to some of my clients is, especially if you're using like a ground meat, like try and cut it in half with beans so that you're still adding in something with protein, but you are kind of like stretching the meat a lot longer because you're adding more density. The other thing, honestly, like shopping the sales. I used to do this when I was in college and even the first few years out of college. Like I had, luckily, within walking distance to me, a lot of different options for grocery stores. So I would get the circulars and I would like literally go store to store based off of what I wanted and what the sales were. And I talked about this, I believe, in yesterday's video. Really time consuming. It takes a lot of strategy and it's a pain in the butt, but it is an option. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm just saying it's an option. And the only other thing, I'm gonna pop up over here there, there's like this list that I've made. This is a really old graphic, but this I use a lot with my plant-based clients, but it's different sources of vegetarian proteins aside from things like tofu and tempeh and things like that. So definitely something to think about. You can screenshot that if you want to reference it for later. How do I eat and not feel guilty? I've been there. Oh, I feel for you. I really do. Look, this is such a loaded question without knowing you. And it's hard for me to give specific advice that's even going to be helpful. It's going to feel like throwing spaghetti on the wall and hoping something sticks, right? So instead, I want you to either shoot me an email or a DM back on Instagram, and we'll set up a free 30-minute call where I can kind of talk you through this. We can see where your problem points are, and I can at least get you on a good starting point. Can I eat white rice and still be healthy? So I'm going to be that person for a second and ask you first, what does healthy mean? Because the thing is, healthy means something different to everybody. But I'm gonna assume that the point you're getting at is brown rice healthier than white rice? And again, healthier means something different to everyone, so let's just use the word better instead. Brown rice is not necessarily better for you than white rice. And let's also just put out there that white rice is not bad for you. It's rice. The main difference between the two is gonna be the fiber content. Brown rice is gonna have about 3 times the amount of fiber than white rice, so it's gonna be more slowly absorbed into your system. And there are absolutely people who do better with brown rice. For example, people with PCOS typically do better with more of a whole grain because of that slower absorption into the system. But on the other hand, someone with some tummy issues is going to do a lot better on white rice because it's a lot easier to digest. So in my opinion, white rice, brown rice, basmati rice, jasmine rice, wild rice, it's all rice. It doesn't matter. Choose what you like. Foods that promote a healthy immune system. I've had COVID twice and the flu within 6 months. Oh, girl, that's terrible. Okay, so one of the reasons that you're probably getting sick over and over is because your immune system is compromised from the previous sickness. Also, I know that you're a teacher and I know you have kids, so those things are just like germ magnets right there. And unfortunately, we can't ever fully prevent sickness with our habit choices. But there are a few nutritional things that we can do all the time that can help build our immune system. First thing is getting enough protein. This is gonna help build our antibodies. Second thing is vitamin C. This helps fight infections. Some great sources of this include citrus fruits, bell peppers, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, white potatoes, like the list goes on and on. Next thing is vitamin D. This is gonna help prevent respiratory infections. Food sources with vitamin D include things like salmon, egg yolks, I think tuna. I know that like the big thing now, because everyone's vitamin D recommendation went up and now everyone's deficient in it, is to take a daily supplement. But for that, I would just like get your blood panel done, check with your doctor first, and try to get food-based sources first. Next thing is zinc. Zinc helps to support your T cells, which is a type of white blood cells, which is part of your immune system. Food sources of this include whole grains, oysters, scallops, things like that. And then finally, I'm gonna recommend omega-3 fatty acids. These are not only gonna reduce inflammation in the body, but also assist your white blood cells. Things like chia seeds, flax seeds, walnuts, salmon, mackerel, cod, all great sources. I struggle to get in enough fiber. How many grams should I aim for in each meal? So the daily recommended amount of total fiber per day is 25 to 30 grams. So if you wanna break that down meal by meal, it's gonna be about 10 grams per meal. Honestly, what I would do is track how much fiber you're eating throughout the week and then just bump it up slightly. Don't go crazy bumping it up all at once because your stomach will not be happy. And also make sure you're pairing that with enough water, because if you're not having enough water with your fiber, it's not gonna break down in your system. Besides the obvious salty snacks and highly processed foods, what foods to avoid for a low salt diet? If there's a reason that you need to lower your salt intake, I would say be wary and like check the labels of things for like breads, deli meats, soups, especially as we're in soup season, condiments, canned veggies, cereals. A good rule of thumb with anything is if you look at the label and it says that it is at least 20% of like the daily recommended allowance, it's high in that. So just something to keep in mind. Last question, balancing meals without it being a hassle. I would start with asking, what's the biggest hassle or what's the biggest obstacle when it comes to balancing your meals? Is it getting in the veggie? Is it getting in the protein? Is it the preparation? Is it the time? Is it the ideas? Figure out what your obstacle is first, and then you can start to come up with ideas of how to tackle it. All right, that was a lot, but I think I got through every single question, which is fantastic. So hopefully that was informative and helpful for you guys. Rest of the day, we have nothing. Well, we do have stretch class at 6 o'clock. We're doing a little Carly Rae Jepsen, and otherwise we just got some busy work, so let's go.
Cold nips at your toes,
So we're gonna wrap it up here because the only thing I have left today is my stretch class. You don't need to see me stretching on the floor, it's boring. And then I just have to edit and upload that. And then you know the drill, shower, NyQuil, bedtime. So it's time to check donations. We have raised $712.93. Oh my God, you guys. We're gonna hit Kevin's goal by like tomorrow. That is so exciting. Now, I also just wanna put this out there. One of my Fit Club members mentioned to me, if every single one of your subscribers just donated like $3, you would hit $10,000. I'm just saying. You can donate $3. I mean, I don't know if you can, but like you are allowed to donate $3 if that makes sense. Anyway, once again, guys, just to remind you, the more that you share this video, engage with it via comments and likes, the more that the algorithm will also push this out so we can reach this $10,000 goal. I really don't want it like weighing on your shoulders, but I am determined, very determined. So anyway, hit that subscribe button. I will see you all tomorrow.